The Fender Mustang to me has always been the redheaded stepchild, so to speak, of the three major Fender offsets: the Jaguar, the Jazzmaster, and the Mustang. Part of the reason for that has to do with when it was initially introduced in 1964, it was marketed as a student edition model. So, not something that a seasoned professional or aspiring player who's ready to step up to perhaps a better instrument might be considering. Take it to the early 80s and they went out of production in America. However, their popularity was about to soar overseas in Japan. We're going to be getting into why that happened, how that happened, and looking at one of the first reissues that was made in the Fujigen factory in the mid-1980s. My name is Jim, and this is all about Japanese Mustangs. Now, in most of the Western world, when you talk about the Fender Mustang and you think about players who have made the guitar famous, so to speak, one absolutely jumps to mind from a music video in the early 1990s. Happened to be left-handed and from Seattle. They ended up having a little bit of a cult following even to this day. But long before that band ever existed in Japan, there was an artist called Char. In 1976, he released a self-titled album, and it was a funk/pop album. It's really good. I would highly recommend checking it out. He primarily played a white Fender Mustang and a blue Fender Mustang. When he would go out and play live, that's what you would be seeing him with. He loved the guitars, and as we now know today, the short scale instruments are really, really good at hitting those kind of funk tones. But that popularity happened to come at a time when they were on the outs at Fender USA as far as the production goes, as mentioned, and by the early 1980s, there were going to be no more Fender Mustangs made anywhere. So the guitars, maybe they would be a little bit harder to find. But on the heels of that, in 1982, Fender made an agreement with Yamaha Music and Fujigen to produce guitars for them with the Fender logo, and then introduced the Squier brand of products eventually after. One of the most successful lines ever came from that, and that is the JVs. In the JV line, you didn't have any offset guitars. No Jazzmasters, no Jaguars, and definitely no Mustangs. It was strictly Stratocaster, Telecaster variants, and if you played bass, you could find a P bass or a J bass here or there. However, due to the popularity of Char, they initially, 1986, introduced a line of offset guitars known as E-Serials, but really called the Collector Series. These guitars were the Jazzmaster, the JG66, and the Jazzmaster, the JM66. It wasn't until 1987, though, that the Fender catalog in Japan was released that contained the very first Mustang that also fell into the Collector Series. And that's one of these guys right here. This is a Collector Series MG6960, the only model that was available at the time from Fender Japan. There's a few ways that you could tell it. You have the 60 sticker on the back, which is still on this guitar. That's pretty cool. Very similar to the JVs that also had those stickers denoting the level of guitar that you were getting. In the case of those, it was 65, 85, or 115. With this guitar, you only had the 60 available as an option on it, as well as the Made in Japan logo here with the E serial attached on the neck near the base of the instrument itself. It was available in 3 colors, and I find these choices to be interesting but understandable. To not cause any confusion, they did not use the exact same colors as Fender USA did in the initial run. You had this yellow-white, you had black, and you had sonic blue. So it would be a way for people to not be confused or sold something that they might have thought was something else, especially in that era of time. Fender Japan and Japanese guitars in general didn't have this stellar reputation that they do nowadays compared to when this was initially released in the 1980s. So 7¼ inch radius, rosewood neck, true to form in that sense, got an amazing vibrato. And this one in particular, I don't know, if this is the original spring, it's really well broken, and this one feels absolutely incredible to play with. And yeah, 2 single coil pickups, traditional switching right here. The arm is not original, but hell of a player, hell of a fun guitar to go into. And if you're somebody who likes funk music, maybe you like having a little less string tension when you play, I'd highly recommend checking one of these out. I am going to be playing this guitar real quick though for you. It's going to be a little bit different than I typically do on this channel. I had this guitar for about 5 minutes. I turned on the camera, I set up the mic, the SM57 on the Victory V40 Deluxe Combo, and I tuned the guitar. I said, you know what, I'm just gonna see what comes out. So in lieu of doing a full-on demo where I go through every single position and all of that, I just wanted to do things a little bit naturally and get my gut reaction to the instrument. So let's check that out. Now I have played a lot of Japanese Fender Mustangs. Would I say this is the best one I've ever played? Not necessarily. I think that they're doing a really great job with some of the newer reissues. I had the MG63 in the Capri Orange with the matching headstock. A little bit of a more modern kind of vibe going onto it to match the vintage aesthetics. I really dug that guitar, but this guitar in its own right is absolutely killer. It feels great. Again, the vibrato on this is so cool. And one tip, if you're having any problems with the tuning stability of it when you're using the vibrato itself, you can adjust where the spring actually goes by removing the vibrato system when you have the strings off, and that can do a little bit of help if you move it to the closest one towards the actual base of the plate itself. Another thing you want to make sure that you're doing, even if you do that right, when you're actually attaching the arm, this goes in with a little grommet right here. You want to make sure that the base of the arm itself is not touching the plate, because that will have problems returning back to zero after usage. You do those two things, you stretch out the strings really well, you're not going to have many tuning problems with these instruments. Now before I get going here, I'm going to end this video talking about Char one last time. For those unfamiliar with him, or people that just like to hear two amazing guitarists playing off of each other in kind of a free-flowing jam scenario, there was a series called Char Meets. You can find a lot of these episodes on YouTube, and some of the guests that he has on, you'd never believe it. Paul Gilbert, Marty Friedman, amongst so many other well-established, legendary players in their own genres, just sitting back, vibing, getting out of their comfort zone genre-wise, and just making some really, really cool tones totally off the cuff. I'm gonna leave links to some of those videos down below, and I'll pick a random one and leave it up here. But for your listening pleasure, I would highly recommend checking one of those out. Although he's not always playing a Mustang, sometimes he's playing a Fender Stratocaster as well. I believe a Tele once or twice, but definitely worthwhile checking it out. And just cool to me the fact that that man, he really did make the Mustangs extremely popular in Japan, except the red ones. If you ever looking in Japan, used, which is how I recommend that you buy Japanese Fenders, whether they are used or brand new / B stock, guys, you're gonna find that the red ones don't hold their value nearly as well because Char didn't play a red Fender Mustang at any point in his career. So, just some food for thought. If you like red, you might be able to find yourself an even better deal. However, that's going to be where we conclude this video about the origins of Fender Japan's Mustang endeavor, as well as how they became so popular in Japan thanks to that wonderful man named Char. If you found this video helpful, useful, or entertaining, possibly a combination of those three things, hopefully all of those, you can hit the like button. I really do appreciate everybody's support. Even if you don't do that, just watching the video means a lot to me as well. And a special thank you to all of the people who are members of this channel. I don't mention you guys enough. I really should. You are the absolute best, and welcome to our newest member, Mr. Rabbi himself. But if you have any suggestions, any requests as far as the world of Japanese instruments, anything that you would like to see, any brands you'd like me to go over, feel free to leave a comment. I'm clearly obsessed. I have something wrong with me in the head when it comes to Japanese instruments, but if I can make it happen, I will do my best. Either way, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Take it easy, everybody.